Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Blum with your real estate tip of the week. Now that we're in the fourth quarter of 2021, people are wondering if there are going to be any noticeable changes in the housing market between now and the end of the year. I don't see anything that indicates that interest rates are going to noticeably rise between now and 2022. I think they're going to continue to hover right around 3%. The shortage of building materials is going to continue into the new year as well. And while we might see a drop in the number of houses sold, it's not due to lack of demand, it's due to lack of inventory, especially in the more affordable price ranges where first-time home buyers are looking. If a house goes for sale in one of those affordable price ranges, it usually sells very quickly as long as it's priced right. So if you're a buyer and the right house comes on the market, go for it. Interest rates are still incredibly low. If you're a homeowner and you have a house to sell, there's never been a better time to sell. And if you have any questions about real estate at all, please don't hesitate to give me a call and I'll be happy to help. I'm Tricia Johnston with Blum, and I'll be back here next week with another real estate tip for you.
Hi folks, I want to tell you about Denham Springs Fit Body Boot Camp and their 28-day, $77 Jumpstart program. There's no strings attached and really no reason not to try. You can be in and out in just 30 minutes, and best of all, these 30-minute sessions are scheduled throughout the mornings and evenings to fit your busy schedule. These 30-minute sessions are fun, positive, encouraging, and you can even sign up online. Just visit getfitdenhamsprings.com. Denham Springs Fit Body Boot Camp, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast.
We had the day on the Friday before the event. We had an evening meeting at 7 o'clock. It's kind of like an emergency operations meeting where all got together, make sure everybody had fuel in their trucks and flashlight. Yeah. I mean, just the normal process of reminding everybody that what's getting ready to happen. And we're going to meet again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. right here at the police department. We're going to see what we need to do and kind of assess what does the weather look like, what does river stages look like. Now, we expected, because if you remember in March of that year, we also had a little minor flood where water came across River Road. Mm-hmm. And that would be the best case scenario, just to have that little bit.
Yes.
And that might have been what we were kind of expecting until 7 o'clock. I actually got there about 6:30, and Government Boulevard was already underwater.
Yeah.
And it was threatening to go into City Hall, which is across the street. I said, oh my goodness. So I think it was Curtis, one of my street department guys, Curtis Myers, had a front end loader. Yeah. He put me in the bucket and took me across the street, dropped me off at the front door. And by that time, the water was about an inch from coming in the door. And I said, oh my goodness. So I got inside and I'm thinking, what do I do? Because you just don't know what to do. But the water's coming.
Yeah.
Man, I just started taking hard drives off the floor and putting them on top of desk and taking the bottom drawers out of the file cabinets and throw it up on the top, thinking maybe we'll just have a couple of inches. And then the water started coming in the building, and I'm thinking, oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So I'd called Ben Harris, one of my guys in the water department, kind of ironic water department. But anyway, he was close by, and he started helping me pick up all these things. And then I called Michelle Hood, who's a city treasurer, and I said, I know there's got to be something, because we had this big safe, and it was for records.
Sure.
I know there's something in there that I need to get. Tell me what it is. And so she gave me the combination to get in. We finally got it open, and she wanted the backups. She had backup tapes and hard drives for all the documentation.
Yeah.
Finally got that up. Her and her husband came up there to help us make sure we had everything that we needed. And by that time, the water now is probably 2.5 to 3 feet inside City Hall.
Wow.
And I'm saying, oh, man, we need to get out of here. So we went to the entrance closest to my office down the hall. And Ben and I tried as hard as we could to push open the door, and we couldn't because of the force of the water coming from the river. So we just turned around, made 180 degrees, went to the far end of the building that was facing the other way, and they sent a boat over to get us, and we were able to get that door open and escape.
Unbelievable.
And then the water just kept rising, and where we ended up was in the Walgreens parking lot.
Yep.
And we stayed there for 2 or 3 days because that was the only dry spot that we had. We really couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Albertsons didn't flood. They were still open, still operating as best they could.
Thank
Didn't lose
God.
any power. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
We were able to feed all of our staff and we set up a charge account and say, here's my credit card, water, food, whatever these guys, the girls need, make sure they get taken care of. And it was difficult. I can remember sitting with Dee Womack, okay? She is the current, she's married to the chief of police, but she's also our evidence officer. And at the time, her and I were sitting on milk crates in the parking lot because that's all we had.
Sure.
We both had cell phones for a while because if you remember, AT&T went underwater, so I lost my cell phone. She still had Verizon service, if I recall. And I can remember she's sitting there talking to somebody, and she's screaming, I can't fax it to you because I don't have a darn fax machine. So you don't think about how when you lose everything in City Hall, you lose it all, and you can't just produce a fax machine. You can't just send an email. I mean, we were struggling.
Yeah.
But we made it,
Yes.
We made it. And the most important thing was really trying to save lives because eventually the National Guard did show up. Eventually we were able to get our thoughts together and send everybody to the water's edge. Matter of fact, on Florida Street, fairly close to your store, just to get water, get people out of the boats, escort them up the hill, if you will, to Albertsons. And we had to separate them. I had to get on the microphone in the front of a police car, right? They have a mic thing. I said, okay, if you have any medical emergencies, if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, please get to the front of the line so that when the National Guard gets here, you can go first. I was getting phone calls. Can you find my mom and daddy? If you can, please. It was a madhouse.
It was, yes.
Just a madhouse.
Yes. And, I can remember the most surreal moment for me was watching the Coast Guard literally
flying over,
plucking people off of off of roofs and taking them up and off they go. And I said, oh my gosh, this is right by the Bass Pro Shop.
Right.
Exactly. You know where I live in that area of town, and I'm watching the Coast Guard, and these are amazing people. This guy would come down the zip line, and it was like he's done it a million times, and come here and get in the basket, take you back up.
well, here's another good. The Cajun Navy showed up, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are just good old guys like, you and I sitting out there, and they come in their bass boats and their bateaus, and the young guy, the Bako family that owns the KOA.
Yes.
The youngest son comes up and he said, Mayor, I'm hanging in here. He said, but I need gas. I said, okay, we got gas because there was a convenience store right across from Walgreens, just east. Not selling gas to anybody else. It's ours.
Yes.
And in time of emergency, I didn't realize I had that power, but I do. So we said, this is only for emergency use, right?
Yes.
So the guy from the Cajun Navy says, but I need some. I don't have any gas cans. I said, oh, my goodness. So I turned to one of my police officers, and I said, I know we got to have gas cans around here somewhere. He said, I'll get you one. Don't worry about it. He comes back in about, 5 or 10 minutes, and he's got 5 or 6 of them around. I said, where did you find all the gas cans? He said, they were floating right there on Centerville. Well, if it was in your garage, it floated out, so we found all kind of things that we needed.
Unbelievable.
So we took the gas cans down there, got them filled up, and the Cajun Navy was able to continue their work.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, it's just you have to be creative.
You have to be creative, and it was really a point in time where citizens, just normal people, stepped up and they did what they had to do to help their fellow citizens. And I always tell people that was the worst of times and the best of times, as they say.
Citizens we always reach out and help each other.
Yes.
I don't care what part of the country you live in. You're going to help your neighbors because it's the Christian thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Maybe the only thing we do a little differently down here is that, Cajuns love to cook.
Right.
So when the power goes out, the first thing they start thinking of, what can I make? Can I make a jambalaya? Make a gumbo? and I'm going to tell you what, we were in those little tents out there for a little while. We had a lot of good food brought out to us. Because people had to do something with the food that they had, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a very emotional time when you weren't in the middle of, and you had a little quiet downtime for a few minutes, and I would tell you the emotions would take over, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
And then when you have to make the call, fire chief, I said, Chief Weed, I said, I need you to go out there. I don't want this to look like New Orleans after Katrina, but we have to do a search of every house.
Yes.
And what I meant by I don't want it to look like New Orleans. I don't want the big red X's and zeros.
Right.
Just go to the house.
Yeah.
And make a good informed decision. Do you need to break in and see?
Yeah.
Or if you see the attic stairwell's down and it's down and somebody's probably in the attic, bust in and get them.
Yes.
If the house looks normal, you probably don't have to go in.
100%.
And so we had to work through that process. I've never done that before. None of us have ever done that before. So how do you do it and how do you execute it?
Right.
How about this one? My wife calls me up. She said, baby, there's a coffin across the street. at Denham Springs Elementary.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord is right. I said we had 19 coffins up out of the ground. They just popped up because of high flood water, right?
Yeah.
And I think 7 or 8 actually escaped the cemetery.
Oh, wow.
One was by my house, and there was a couple in a ditch over there off of River Road.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? So, Mary got on the phone, and she called the State Funeral Directors Association, and she finally got down to a guy that gave her some advice and gave me his phone number. I called him later that evening, and he said, this is how you do it.
Awesome.
So we had to go collect the bodies, collect the coffins, and put them on a tarp, bring them back to the graveyard, cover them up with a tarp, and then we were able to get some help from R.B. Goins, who worked with, he's a part of the DMORT team. He actually done some work in New York City after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
He's retired Ravenhorse funeral director, lives here in town. Great guy.
Wow.
And he said, don't worry about it, I got this. And he did.
And you said, take it.
This
is all you. BJ Pawn and Gun in Denham Springs wants to buy your unwanted gold jewelry, gold coins, and gold bullion. With 30 years of experience operating in the Livingston Parish area, BJ Pawn wants to be your source when selling your gold. So stop by BJ Pawn today for a no-obligation offer. BJ Pawn, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. As you promised in your re-election, and we just talked about this, but the Capital One building, you ended up buying that, and you saved a little money. I mean, look, you're a businessman at heart, right? And
they had listed on the market for $1.4 million.
Yeah,
I knew of a guy that had tried to buy it and was almost able to close the deal at $1.2 million.
Yeah,
and then I approached him after we had leased it for a year. They gave it to us for the first 6 months for free. Yeah. No rent, no utilities, fine corporate partners, and we really appreciate that because we had to have a place to operate out of.
Sure.
And then after the 6 months, I said, let's renegotiate this, and let's get a year lease from you. Yeah. And they were very generous again. I think it was like $5 a foot, which is a pretty good price.
I'd say so. Yeah.
And then when we got to the end of the year, we were in that process now with FEMA to decide what we were going to do next. Mm-hmm. And I just reached out to Capital One, the realtor, and I said, okay, guys, this is what I want to do. I know you have $1.4 million. I know you got an offer for $1.2. I'll offer you $1 million minus the rent that I've already paid you for the last year. Doggone it, they took it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we ended up writing a check for $771,000, I believe. And then of the $4 million that we had, that paid for that, and then we used about $1.4 million or $1.5 million in the remodel.
Yeah.
New roof, like I said, new finishes, new floors, walls painted. Didn't move a whole lot of stuff around because you know what, it's working okay.
Yeah,
it works okay.
I think it looks great,
and it's paid for.
And it's paid. And it's paid for. The best part.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Now, let me ask you this: if you could have one thing for the city of Denham Springs, if the FEMA ferry came down and
FEMA ferry,
if FEMA ferry came down and granted you just one thing, just said, here, you can take this. What would it be?
Eliminate flooding.
There you go.
Clean out the Amite River. Do whatever you have to do south here to get the water out of our area as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Do detention ponds or whatever up north of here to stop the water from ever getting here in the first place.
Yeah.
I would love for our citizens to be able to go to sleep at night knowing that they don't have to worry about a flood any longer. Now, it's happening all over the world.
Sure.
Look what happened in Germany last week, and those folks that have gotten killed with torrential rains and flooding there. It's just, I don't know if we're just more aware of it today because of the media that we have in this world, or if it really is worse.
Yeah.
I've never been a proponent of global warming.
Right.
There's something going on. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And but if we could just eliminate that fear for a lot of folks, I would feel like I've accomplished something.
Fantastic. Now, you also discussed with me a little bit of roundabout. You were proposing for the Bass Pro area for those big rigs that come in and out of that way station.
They're coming out the way station in that is a Pilot, I think, truck stop.
Yes.
And so they come out that side entrance and they're going to turn left, and it really just blocks up that whole intersection. It's a bad design, but they were there first.
Sure.
Okay, and we built around them
Yeah.
over the last couple of decades, and it's been a challenge with traffic. So I reached out to an engineering firm that does a lot of work with us, Fort and Sublata.
Yes.
And one of their engineers is a retired DOTD employee, because that's where DOTD employees go.
Yeah.
They go to work for engineering firms. And she said, well, why don't we look at a roundabout?
Yeah.
And so I work with Capital Region Planning. I'm on the Metropolitan Planning Organization. So that part of our job is to approve and use DOTD funds for road improvements around the state.
Sure.
So one of the things I did was I immediately added Bass Pro to the MPO so that we would have access to federal funds in the future, because that is it's a major road here in our area because of the Bass Pro and Sam's and future developments that may come up down there.
Absolutely.
So that opened the door then for the some of the other programs that are available. So now what I have is a set of plans to have a roundabout at Bass Pro itself, so that the truckers, now this is who I'm really worried about,
right.
Let's get the truckers to come out of the pilot and turn right.
Yes.
Go down to the Bass Pro, make the loop, and then come back up to range. And that way they're not blocking traffic.
Agreed.
Because if you are south of the city coming up range and you turn left onto Bass Pro, if you're not paying attention, there's a truck right in front of you.
Absolutely.
And if you're heading south and you turn right on that you're looking to merge, because the truck is right there in front of you.
Yes.
So we are very fortunate that we haven't had any fatalities there, but it's obviously a dangerous situation that we need to fix. And there's several other projects. As a matter of fact, I just was on the phone this morning with Christine Gallen from DOTD, and it looks like the contract's going to be let for Range Avenue in November. And what DOTD is doing, this is a state highway and it's a state project, and it's all based on crash data.
Yes.
And they're going to turn Range Avenue into left turn lane only.
Okay.
It doesn't sound very popular, but you know what? I think they're going to take out 1 or 2 red lights, left turn lane only. It's going to speed up traffic. It's actually speed up traffic, and I call it the suicide lane in the center, because everybody's using it as the entrance ramp.
Right.
They speed up and they run into the back of somebody, or they sideswipe somebody.
Yes.
And the number of accidents on Range is horrendous.
Yeah.
So this should eliminate most of them. I can't say all, but most of them.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be a little learning curve for everybody, and get over the shock of, be like going to New Orleans. You're going,
oh, yeah.
You're just like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey ladies, it's Pate with Idell Lane Spa and Boutique, located in Walker. We offer all things skincare, hair care, makeup, spray tan, lashes, and more. And we have a full selection of clothes. And we also do private events, from birthday parties, bridal showers, and more. So stop by today and get your queen on, making every woman a queen. See you soon.
Good morning, Chairman, and thank you for the invitation to share some information with y'all today. It is true that 90% of my homes in my city received water. 90%. It's hard to comprehend that many homes had water. Of the 4,200 homes, about approaching 3,000 had over 18 inches, and that triggers the mitigation piece that we're so concerned about going forward. But this is such an unprecedented event when you have 25 to 30 inches of rain in 72 hours. We talked about trillions of gallons of water coming down upon us. It is unbelievable what we have just gone through. And we talk about so many of these folks, 70, 80% of the folks did not have flood insurance. Well, the reason they didn't have flood insurance, we've never had that issue that bad. The crest of the river was 5 foot above the highest recorded flood stage that we've ever had back in 1983. How do you even prepare for that? So our folks and at least in my community, don't live there without flood insurance because they want to live dangerously or because they can't afford it. They didn't need it. So this is such a unique and rare event that has occurred. It has just devastated all of us. We can go into great detail about the response from FEMA. I have documented a lot of that in my brief that I have submitted to you. But the biggest single issue, well, there's two big issues. One is the inconsistency of the information that is given to us and to our citizens, and the mitigation piece. We talk about mobile housing units and how we need those desperately so that our seniors can get back to their homes and that our kids can get back to school, because school starts again in a week or two. They need to be back in their communities. They need to be able to go back home and live in their driveway in a trailer of all things so that they can put their houses back together again. But it starts off with, Mr. Myers, you need a trailer, so we'll get you one. And then the next day or two, somebody comes back and says, oh, no, Mr. Myers, you can't have it because you're in a flood zone. Well, FEMA guidelines say you can't put one in a flood zone. Well, who needs one more than anybody else than somebody that just got flooded? So that there's no rhyme or reason there. And we were instructed last week Okay, FEMA has relaxed the guidelines. We can now have mobile homes in a flood zone. But you heard me talk about Mr. Myers. He's a 90-year-old war veteran. Guess what? FEMA went to his home just Tuesday and said, no, we changed our mind again. You can't have the... Where is the consistency in the message to our people? And you want to know why our people are frustrated? Because they don't know who to turn to. They cannot get the consistent information that they need to make an intelligent decision. So to say that I'm disappointed and frustrated and angry is an understatement. My community, unlike Mr. Shelton's, is very old. We've been around since 1828 when Mr. Denham came and discovered some springs, hence the name Denham Springs, and it was at that point in time when this community started to flourish, and we have large families, a lineage of generation after generation, such a strong sense of community, and that we all pull together and we all support each other. And so this disaster is about real people. It's not something you just see on TV and you don't connect with, but we are definitely all in this together. My community has an antique district, and the buildings go back to the early 1900s. We have football. Everybody has football. We also have football, but you know what it is? We sell season tickets, and we sell out of season tickets every year to high school football. That's the kind of community that we have. Our citizens love our city, and I love my citizens. And I'll try to be their voice. Another 90-year-old, Mr. Hewitt Underwood. Mr. Hewitt served our country in the Second World War in the Coast Guard, has always been to the veterans, has always attended every veterans function. He's such a proud man. And now his home had 57 inches of water. He has a bride of 59 years is how long they've been married, and they want to just go back home. But with the possibility of having to elevate their home at a cost of about $100,000, he can't afford that. The home is only worth about $100,000. He's 90 years old. He just wants to go back home and live the rest of his life in peace and enjoy his kids and his grandkids and his great-grandkids. To show you how dedicated he was, some of the possessions that he had they were able to remove them from the home before the floods. And then after the floods, they went back to go and retrieve some of those. And when Mr. Underwood walked into his storage room, the first place he went to was the drawer where he kept his medals, all of his service medals from the military back in the Second World War. That's how much he served his country. That's how much he loves his country. But now the country is not serving him. With the ridiculous guidelines and the procedures that FEMA subjects him and his family and everybody else in my community and these other communities is uncalled for. It's unbelievable. You have to be on the ground to truly understand exactly what our folks are going through. I would challenge anybody from the FEMA headquarters, play undercover boss. Come to my city. Go work the streets and see what your folks are telling my people. I had a 70-year-old gentleman in my office just yesterday, in tears. He was out of town during the flood event, came back home, drove into his driveway, saw the devastation. His wife had a heart attack. Now, she is in Hammond, 30 miles away, in a hospital. Her sister is taking care of her while this poor guy is back at home trying to take care of his possessions, trying to gut out his house. And a FEMA rep goes to him and says, well, I'm going to tell you what, you got to tear your house down. It's devastating. It's devastated. It devastated him. He came to me. He said, Mayor, what am I supposed to do? And we sat down and we talked, and we're okay. But the response from FEMA has been totally uncalled for. So in closing, my biggest challenge to you is to make FEMA change the mitigation piece, because if I had 3,000 homes that had more than 18 inches of water and they were deemed as substantially damaged, they want us to elevate them. That will be the death of my city. I received an email the other day of a guy that lives on Gerald Drive. 4 of his neighbors have already said they're leaving, and he's strongly considering doing the same. That piece does not need to go into effect. Please suspend it. Please use some common sense. The fact that you're going to make somebody raise their house on a 1,000-year event, a rain of such epic proportions, nobody could ever comprehend what was going to happen. So do not, please, I ask you, please do not make us raise our homes. Thank you very much.
William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast.
Well, in the flood, we gave a 20, 25, 20, and 20, if you remember, over the 4 years.
Yeah.
This one is going to get the value.
Yeah.
If you come in there and your value to your estimate to replace your home or get it back in order is $100,000, you're going to get $100,000 off. We're going to give you the value.
Very good.
I've got people that went through the flood in my subdivision
Yeah.
that had trees on their home.
Wow.
They just got through. My neighbor across the street just literally last year got through repairing her home from the flood, and now she's got trees all over the back of her house, not in the yard, on her house.
Wow.
So she's now having to start all over again. Look, that's very trying. That will
That'll
toughen
break
you
the
up.
strongest
That'll break you
ones. Yeah.
strongest. That it will. And so when I talk to the districts, I've told them whatever people come in, we're going to inspect it, and we're going to put it on our numbers.
Yeah.
And whatever that number comes up to be, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to them.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
we're going to see if you got enough money to make it through.
Yeah.
The people are going to get it because they've been through a lot. The people of this parish been through a lot, and they need to get their discounts.
Absolutely. And of course, there was a COVID discount that had kicked in at one point. Tell us about that and if it's still existing. And
Yeah, COVID's still going. It started last year. We gave a 10%. I was the only assessor that gave a 10% to both residential and commercial. I gave 10%. You got 10% across the board for COVID. Now, it's important that people understand that if you got a flood discount, a COVID discount, IDA discount, you're not getting all three of them. You're going to get the one that is the most.
yeah.
Whichever one comes in best for you. If the flood discount comes out higher, you're going to get that. If the COVID one comes out higher, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
If the IDA comes out higher, you're going to get that.
Right.
So that's only fair. I can't go through there and add them all three together and give you
80% off.
pay you money back.
Yeah.
By the time we get through with everything. So we're going to be working on that. We talked a few minutes ago that the parish workers and the sheriff's office and everything, they've been working real hard over this last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Been working real hard. As their work winds down, ours really picks up.
Yeah.
So we were able to assist them for this last 4 weeks with whatever needed to be done. Cooking, getting supplies, keeping our office open. We were the only office for a while that had internet. So they were actually coming over to our office and using our internet.
Yeah.
So we were able to do some of that. But now as their work is winding down, we know in the office of the assessor's office, the next 4 months is going to be just absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to go all over this place looking to see what kind of damage we've got and making sure that, we're going to verify it.
Yes.
You hate to say that, but you've got to verify it because there's going to be people that are going to call me.
Sure.
Tell me they got $300,000 worth of damage. You're going to get there and they lost a shingle. Yeah. There's going to be some people that's going to tell me they got about $4,000 worth of damage. You can get there and their roof's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be some people that'll underestimate.
They're going to underestimate.
Sure.
So we're going to verify it for them.
Yeah, very good. And interesting in that a lot of ways that you can verify damage now, you're not just driving out there and going to each individual, although there was a time where that, you had to do that. But you have a pretty amazing flyover mapping system that you can do you can actually see that damage from the sky, right?
Oh, yeah. We've got a mapping system. Jim, we're about to create a full-blown Livingston Parish mapping system.
Yeah.
We've got it through the assessor's office now, but we're going to have our own department. We've got in the back of our building that we've just built, there's an area. We're going to put the mapping department there where people can come in there and get all their maps, and they're not going to have to just go through the front door. They're going to be able to get there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that our mapping system has done is that we've been able to add pictures of all the houses in the parish, and then we do flyovers.
Yeah.
And those flyovers come in, and we can lay them over. Every 2 years they do a flyover.
Yeah.
And so we can lay it over the top of the one and we can see what's the new construction.
Wow.
But an added benefit of that is I can now take and lay that one down from 2 years ago, and I can lay Ida over across it, and I can see what the damage is.
Wow.
And so we can do a lot of the assessment from the air.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that we can't, we'll obviously have to go out there and drive.
Sure.
But it's so much easier if I got 3 or 4 guys that are sitting there just looking at it as a flyover. You're missing a roof, well, you got substantial damage.
Yeah.
If you're missing this. So we're going to be able to see a lot of that from the air. And
That's
they're already there. They're 40-something% finished with the flyover in the parish. They would have been finished already, but the weather.
Yeah.
Time you turn around, it rains.
Yeah.
Cloudy. And so
That's a good point.
we're real
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, very good, and the time that saves is just phenomenal. I mean, you're probably talking months and months of
Well, people don't want to see
research.
right now. You don't want to see an assessor's vehicle driving up and down the street.
Yeah.
First of all, you're in the way.
Yes.
The first, the sheriff's department of the parish, they're trying to get things cleaned up.
Yes.
And so if you're in there trying to do all that, you're just in the way.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a way to be able to do this. And then when they get everything cleaned up, then we can start doing all the work that's necessary. And right now we can do support, and then they'll be giving us support.
Yeah. And speaking of work and things like that, the assessor's office, which incidentally, congratulations, you are the 2021 Assessor of the Year, statewide.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. You got a little bit of experience in the assessor world with 21 years now that you've been doing this. And I can't tell you folks how much I believe that is of benefit to our parish, because Jeff has worked with these people in the state of Louisiana for a long time, throughout the entire state, really, to get a spotlight on Livingston Parish. And when you're Assessor of the Year, when you have that much experience, that goes a long way. It really does. So shout out to you for your award. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Dane Arnold with iTrade Exchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what iTrade Exchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit iTradeExchange.biz.
Tell you how it happened. About 2 months ago, I got a phone call one morning. Said, all right, we got a little situation. And I said, okay. And it was another assessor from Parish. He called and he said, I'm just finding out this information. Mm-hmm. The company that we've all been using has been breached. We're fine. The assessors are fine.
Yes.
The Sheriff's Association is not.
Yes.
Some of them got really breached, and so they've been hacked.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that mean for us? Well, your sheriff should be calling you sometime. I was on the phone with him, Sheriff Cutting. He's like, I got some information for you. He said, your company's been breached. He said, it's pretty serious. They brought in the State Department, the FBI, military, everybody come in and raided this company. Yeah. But the Sheriff's Association knew about it for 1 year before they could let us know. Under penalty of arrest.
Yeah.
They could not. They had to continue doing business with this company, acting like nothing happened.
Yeah.
You realize how hard that would be?
I can only imagine.
Especially when you want to tell other districts and you can't.
Yeah.
So he told me as soon as he could.
Yeah.
And at that point we decided, okay, we need to start searching, because if this company was breached that easily, and the reason they couldn't tell us anything is they was trying to find out where the breach come from.
Yeah, they didn't want to tip off.
They didn't want to tip off the company and all this kind of stuff. We understood it completely. So we had to do our due diligence and make sure that we were not breached. We were not. So we come out fine. But we found that the company was there were some things that they should have done better as far as protecting and security.
Yeah.
So I decided I need to start looking for another company, or see if there's somebody out there that's a little bit better. If not, if this company's good, we'll stay here. But I'm gonna use this time to research.
Sure.
So I have done some extensive review in the last 2 months. I have talked with them in Los Angeles. I actually went to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Looked at their software. I didn't want to be sold. I didn't want to sell. Everybody said, well, why don't you just have the salesman come in? Because he's only going to tell me the good. When I went to these different deals, we went to Tampa, we went to Dallas, I went to Los Angeles, I'm going to Seattle, and I'm going to Vermont. Why those areas? Because every time we're up for anything in IAAO, they win every time.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to get to where Livingston Parish is the best, you got to play the best.
That's right.
You know, I already know what Louisiana's doing. I know every company that is represented in Louisiana.
Yeah.
There's one in Bossier that is leading the pack right now, as far as I'm concerned, in Louisiana.
Yeah.
But we haven't visited the King Daddy yet, which is Seattle. They're the best.
They're the best.
So I've talked to the assessor up there a few times, and he says, yeah, we kind of got a decent district up here. So I think everybody thinks that y'all are the best. I said, I'm coming to see you. I said, I want to see what you have. I said, and I want you to be brutally honest with me.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me the bad and the good.
Yeah.
Los Angeles did that. They told me everything that they didn't like about their system. They told me everything they liked. Dallas did the same thing. Tampa told us the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to learn is what is the good one so I can bring it back here. Again,
Absolutely.
If you want to be the best, you got to get the best.
You really
and
do.
so we're working on all of those things with the deal. I take different groups of my office. I'll take personal property and residential with me. I'll take commercial and change orders with me. And we'll put them in an area. You need to work with these people. And they'll spend a day doing nothing but change orders, watching them do change orders.
Fantastic.
Does that work for you? What doesn't work for you? I was telling you a little bit ago, we went to Los Angeles. And when I was talking to Assessor Preen out there, he was saying, well, this is what we have. We're spending $100 million. We're doing this. $100 million, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he started putting everything up on screen, I was looking at it, I said, okay, that's pretty good. I like that. I like that. I like that. Well, when they finally started saying, well, what do y'all do in Louisiana? I said, well, we've been doing that for about 5 years. And we've been doing that for 10 years. And he was like, you really have, I said, we already have the scanned documents in. We already have the pictures. I've already got everything in my parish measured.
Yeah.
We're the only one in the state that has everything, a tape measure has been put on it.
Wow.
I made a decision 12 years ago to make sure that I put a tape on everything.
Yeah.
So when people come in and tell me they got a 1,200 square foot house, you actually got 18.
Yeah.
Because my guys went out here on this date and we measured it for you. So when he was talking about all these things and everything, I was like, we're already doing some of that.
Yeah.
But he did have some good ideas that I said, I'm going to take that home with me and I'm going to put that on my screen. And so all of these things I'm writing down, I'm taking the best of what everybody has and I'm adding it to whatever I'm going to buy. But I am going to, by the time we get through with this in January, February, March, we're going to have a top-notch software service.
That's fantastic. And, you know, the interesting thing about all of that to me is you're going to different places and you're taking kind of the best parts of what you like out of individual assessors' offices, and then you're bringing it back here and you're kind of tailor-making your own program.
I'm making my own program. And
it's beautiful.
It's tailor-made.
Yeah.
So, a little play on words there.
But
I appreciate
like that.
it. I like it. But if it's not working for them, why would I bring it into here?
Yeah.
So I can go ahead and take all that out. Whereas if I just bought a canned program, I would have all the bad with it.
Yeah.
So I can go ahead and just take all that out and say, let's don't even bring that in here. Let's replace what they're doing over here with what Tampa was doing over here because it worked better there. I need that program in mind.
That's a great thing.
And so all of a sudden we're going to have a pretty good one.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking forward to it. It's a big learning curve, man.
I can only imagine. Yeah,
but we're going to be good.
Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word.
I guess an issue that we still have with some of the older people in the parish that were used to the police jury system, because they might have called their police juryman back in the 80s,
Yeah.
And hey, I need you to take care of this for me. Okay, and they did it right away.
Yeah.
You know, but the police juryman actually in his district, he got a pile of money. He had his own work crew, and he was basically the supervisor over that crew.
Yes.
And he directed them, and they did everything he wanted done, and he was over it all.
Yes.
We're over none of that.
Right.
You know, we write the laws. If we see a law that needs to be tweaked, we tweak it, we change it. You know, we really don't have any intel on the actual work and the employees. You know,
Right.
that's the administration's job under a council system.
Yes, and so that's the primary difference in those days and times. You kind of handled everything. Yeah. Now they split that essentially.
Yes. And look, it was a eye opening for me because you know I have an uncle, James Sibley, that used to be a police juryman, and I kind of always watched the position, and you know, I might be interested in that one day. And I got married, moved out to Walker, but I always wanted to go back to where I grew up to do it. And we finally moved back out in that area, and I decided to run. And
it's been good things.
It's been good. I mean, you know, I get more upset when somebody calls me and I can't help them.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like there's a lot of times that I just have to say, I just can't do nothing. That's not my job, you know. And some people just don't want to hear that.
Yeah. They and that's one thing we want to definitely impress on everybody is you're not necessarily passing a buck. Your hands do get tied.
Yes.
And so Leighton Rick's office, that's more of the administrative side of things that you would deal with on situations like that. Now, if you got a good idea or a law that you think you want to bring to the council and say, hey, this might make for a good ordinance, they'd love to hear it, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. And that's another thing. Yeah, I've had people come up to me and ask me something, and I'll say, you know, I'm gonna have to look into it. And they're like, you don't know it? Like, you know how many ordinances that we have?
There's a ton.
There's a lot.
I've seen them.
So if it hasn't come across our desk and we've dealt with it, we would probably have to look it up and see what the ordinance says and see if there's an issue with it. And, you know, and we've had a lot of them that's come across our desk that we're like, they made sense back in the 90s when they wrote it.
Sure.
But it doesn't make sense now because our parish has changed so much that, you know, and we probably have a bunch of them that's still on the books that we just haven't come across yet that really doesn't help us out as a parish now. But until something comes across our desk that's in part of that ordinance, we don't know.
Yeah, and he's 100% right. I mean, you can go online and print out the entire thing, and you better have a ream of paper in there to print it out. Because I started to one day, and I'm like, I ain't got enough ink for this. Yeah. So yes, it's a lot.
Hey ladies, it's Pate with Idell Lane Spa and Boutique, located in Walker. We offer all things skincare, hair care, makeup, spray tan, lashes, and more. And we have a full selection of clothes. And we also do private events from birthday parties, bridal showers, and more. So stop by today and get your queen on, making every woman a queen. See you soon.
2015, the entire council was pretty much replaced. This was your first term.
It was my first term. I was probably the first one to come out of the group and say that they were running. And at the time, Chance Parent was the councilman, and he had said that he wasn't going to run, and then he come back, changed his mind, and ran. So I ran against him. You know, he was still the incumbent.
Yeah. You got a pretty high percentage of that
I got 69% on that one. And just went around, and you know, a lot of people know me and Tracy Gardner have known each other since we were 5 years old. Went through school from kindergarten all the way through, and you know, he was a councilman in city of Walker, and I kind of, man, you really ought to do this with me. Let's do this together, and let's go in. And took a little convincing, kind of finally got him going, and then you know, started hearing of other guys wanting to get in and do it. And I mean, it was when we all won, we all kind of get in there and like, okay.
Yeah, because you're all new.
We're all new.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And, you know, luckily, John Wascombe and Tracy both had a little experience, at least being on the city council.
Right.
And we kind of leaned on them. But I'm going to tell you, our savior was Miss Sandy Teal, our clerk.
Yes.
You know, she kept us in line.
She's awesome.
She is awesome, and she really kept us going.
Yeah.
Because we would try to do things, and she'd be like, "No, you can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. I'm sorry."
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape involved that you got to kind of work through and things like that. But Miss Sandy Teal, I did Leadership Livingston with her, and just an amazing lady indeed.
Yeah, she is.
So, and has to deal with a bunch of you guys all the time in that council.
Yeah,
it's got to be tough.
And I mean, look,
Scooter running around.
Yeah, we have clashes. I at one time I had a little joke going around, and I don't even remember it, about each councilman's part and what they do, and I used to mess with Scooter all the time and say, we just use you when we want information leaked out, Scooter. That's all we use you for.
I love it. I love that. Yeah. So, and interestingly enough, the council, they have a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of things y'all been doing towards the positive lately, I guess you could say. One of those I want to bring up that is kind of a big topic is water safety regulations. So we've had, unfortunately, some deaths at tiki tubing, lately, and of course those make the news and everything. And from the council standpoint, y'all said, man, we need to look at this, and maybe we need to institute some regulations for businesses, to operate. It wasn't being hard. It was really common sense stuff that you're not trying to be hard on any sort of business, but there was some safety regulations lacking there. So let's discuss those a little bit.
Well, the ordinance committee gave it to us at the last meeting, and I thought they did an excellent job on it. You could tell they really put their time into it. They put where they're going to have GPS markers down the river, so when something happens, they can call in and say, "Hey, we're at this marker."
Yeah, that's huge.
And we don't have people trying to go up and down the river or send a drone up or whatever we got to do to try to find them. We have a marker that at least puts us right on top of them.
Yes.
So we're also going to have depth gauges along the river to be able to see. They're going to try to mark some of the more dangerous areas of the river that typically get deep, and when the river gets high, it gets a little stronger current there. Yeah. The life vest, we had a little discussion on that.
Yes,
but it basically said the business had to provide them. It doesn't say you have to wear them.
Right.
That's still your personal preference.
Liberty. Yeah, we're not going to step on liberty.
Stepping on that liberty,
right.
But we want the business owner to have to put it in your hands.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom, it wanted to add available, and I was one that said, wait a minute. I feel like if we put available, they're going to put a tub of life vests right there. And hey, they're available.
Yeah.
And if you want it, get one.
Yeah.
And I would prefer put a tub where you drop them off at, and if they don't want to wear it, they can put it in the tub over there. But they did that on their own. They put it in that tub, and they chose not to wear it.
Yeah, that's right. They made that decision for themselves.
They made
at
that
point.
decision. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And that was more semantics than anything else, as far as wording. But it was worded very well, and there's one thing we also want to say is it does not include private boat launches. So anybody that has a private boat launch, it's all good. You don't have to.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
was
primarily
tricky,
for businesses.
Because it was like, do we put floating devices that don't have a motor, inflatables? How do we word this? And it was a lot of discussion on how to get it right.
Yes.
And at the same time, we didn't want to be like we're picking on this one business.
Right.
We wanted it to pertain to river safety.
That's right.
Not just this business. So, that just so happened this business brought the attention to us that, hey, we have an issue that we probably need to look into.
Yeah, and that's the great things about a council is it's a bunch of minds getting together and kind of working out the best solution and the best process for those sort of things. So